In this new episode, we will take a look at how to scan negative film with SilverFast 9 SE and the Epson Perfection V600. You can watch this interactive tutorial from the beginning to the end, or click on the navigation icon in the player to access the different chapters of this tutorial anytime. Film photography has experienced a resurgence in the last few years, not only with seasoned film shooters. Even curious digital natives are rediscovering the truly meditative experience of analog photography. So not surprisingly, what was once called the hybrid workflow, analog capture on film but conversion of the developed film to digital, is now the best approach, since not very many will put up the additional effort of setting up a darkroom at home to create analog prints as well. Thanks to very capable scanners like the Epson Perfection V600 and SilverFast, anyone can convert their analog film into digital files. But have you ever struggled with nailing the true colors of film with your scanner? Have you found it difficult to see some sort of ground truth color-wise when editing your scans from negatives? Please don't fall into despair over this, because it's not your fault. Scanning color negatives is by far the biggest scanning challenge out there, and even highly skilled professionals needed years of learning and experience before they mastered the art of scanning color negative film. As a matter of fact, the color negative process was never designed for a digital conversion workflow. It was designed to involve two complementary halves: the color negative and the color printing paper. Those two were part of a closed interaction, and the final color-corrected print required that the unique properties of each part of that system acted together to nail true colors with an analog print. Now, when working hybrid, the scanning software has to mathematically replicate that close interaction, or we won't achieve any satisfactory results. Enter NegaFix. SilverFast NegaFix offers a convenient and professional way to convert your negatives into brilliant positives. Every version of SilverFast comes with NegaFix on board with different levels of functionality, but they all come with more than 120 specific film profiles available and pre-installed. These film profiles replicate the unique properties of the color negative process described earlier, and therefore allow even beginners to scan negatives with very little effort, but with awesome results. With SilverFast NegaFix, you will nail those colors straight out of the scanner. Let's find out how that works. The right scan mode. Please refer to episode 4 of this tutorial series to learn how to remove the cover from the transparency unit of the scanner and placing the film holders on the glass of the scanner. In SilverFast SE, we need to make sure to choose the right scanning mode in case we have been scanning something other than negatives prior. The settings for the scan mode are located on top of the tool dock. We will choose the transparency scan mode by choosing Transparency from the 3 options in the menu. Next, we will choose the setting Negative, since we will be scanning negatives in this tutorial. Also, we will leave the next setting at the default 48 to 24-bit for now, and cover the available options for the bit depth and frame settings later in the chapter Bitdepth-settings. The software now knows we will be scanning negatives and convert them to a positive image, which will then be saved as a digital file. Thus, a new widget labeled NegaFix was added to the SilverFast tool dock. Let's take a closer look at the new widget. We see 3 pull-down menus, which let us choose the film manufacturer, the specific film type, and the film speed or sensitivity. As mentioned earlier, NegaFix comes with more than 120 specific film profiles pre-installed. Just below the film speed menu is the box to select the color cast removal option, labeled CCR, which fixes color casts resulting from a light situation different from the color temperature the film is originally specified for. The second box is labeled Auto and activates the automatic for the orange mask expansion. This rather technical verbiage is one of the unique properties we learned about in the introduction to this tutorial. The distinctive orange mask in a color negative film holds a compressed gradation and requires more than just a simple linear inversion of the negative into a positive, which would look like this. Since all the different film types from all the different manufacturers contain a specific type of orange mask, or in other words, not all negative films have the same orange mask, NegaFix will expand the orange mask according to the profile chosen. In our case, the Kodak Portra 400 profile. The NegaFix profiles in SilverFast are individually measured and adjusted by our professional engineers to match the respective film and scanner in use, digitally replicating the built-in analog interaction between film and paper and making the digital conversion process so convenient for us in SilverFast. Let's recap what we have just learned. By choosing the NegaFix profile, SilverFast knows which particular orange mask to detect and expand when converting our scan into a positive image. Pre-scan and scan frames. I have chosen a medium format 6 by 7 cm film negative for this tutorial because NegaFix profiles also work for medium format negative film, and the workflow is essentially the same for any film format. As a first step, we want to tell the scanner the area of the flatbed to scan in the higher resolution, which would be the area where we have placed our negatives onto the glass of the scanner. We will do so by adjusting the red scan frame in our preview window, by moving our mouse cursor over either a corner or any of the 4 edges, and once the cursor has changed, we can drag our scan frame by click and hold to the edge of our photo on the preview area. If we have more than one original placed on the flatbed, we can simply draw additional frames by clicking and holding anywhere in the preview area, which will add multiple scan frames to scan them away later as a batch in one go. It's important to note that each new scan frame will have individual settings, and every new scan frame will start with default settings. We can toggle between the multiple scan frames in our preview area by simply clicking once into the scan frame we want to select and edit further in SilverFast. Drawing 2 scan frames is not too much effort. Yet, if you have placed 2 film strips of 35mm film with 6 exposures each in the corresponding holder, drawing 12 scan frames can become a little bit of an effort. The Auto Frame Finder in SilverFast provides a solution to this. We can go to the Frame button on top of the tool dock and choose Find Frames, Film Strip 35mm holder, or in my case, medium format 6 by 7 cm, to trigger the automatic frame finder of SilverFast SE. This feature will find all negatives placed in the holder on the flatbed automatically and create an individual scan frame for each one. The right settings. In this step, we will choose the right settings to scan a negative with SilverFast SE. First, we'll click on frame number 1 to make it our active frame, and since this shot was taken in landscape orientation, we will rotate our preview clockwise by 90 degrees. Next, we would click on the magnifying icon in the vertical toolbar to zoom into the preview area to only show our currently active scan frame. I'd like to show you an alternative way by opening our Navigator widget and clicking on the thumbnail for frame number 2. And our preview will zoom into frame number 2. As mentioned in previous tutorials in this series, all currently active tools for editing images are listed in the tool dock as widgets. As one of the default widgets is the scan dimensions always positioned on top of the tool dock. And we can set everything that affects the file name, file format, location to save the file, format and orientation, as well as the resolution for the final scan. We'll enter a name and choose the uncompressed TIFF as file format in this tutorial. By clicking on the folder icon, we will be prompted with a dialog to choose the destination to save the file of the scanned negative, and the location selected will be displayed under Path. The next setting is called Format, and when clicking on the entry, we will be prompted with a number of preset output format options to choose from. Let's choose the 5x7 inches as the output format for our example, and landscape as orientation. Notice how our scan frame was automatically adjusted to reflect the ratio of a 5x7 inch print. We can adjust our scan frame by hovering our cursor over any of the 4 edges until it changes into a double-sided arrow. Click and hold to drag the scan frame to the right position. It is important to note that the layout and workflow of the SilverFast Scan Dimensions widget allows to apply the right resolution for your scan without ever having to touch the resolution slider yourself. So you'll always scan your print with the correct resolution. Let's see how simple it is. For our example, it chose 800 ppi as the correct input resolution to achieve a 5x7 inches output format in 300 ppi in the final scan. If we choose a different output resolution under Preset, the resolution slider will automatically choose the right input resolution. So you will never have to rescan a negative because the resolution was set too low with the resolution slider. We never touched the resolution slider the whole time. NegaFix settings. Once we have zoomed into frame number 1, let's scroll down a little bit to the NegaFix widget in SilverFast. Click and hold on the widget's title bar to make it a floating window, and let's place it right next or even a little bit on top of our number 1 frame, since we will be doing a few settings now, and we'd like to see the effect on our image intuitively. Make sure the CCR and auto options are still ticked and active. The negative I'm scanning and converting in this tutorial is a Kodak Portra 400. So I will choose this NegaFix profile for my digital conversion and watch the visual appearance is changing whilst I'm choosing Kodak under Vendor, Portra under Type, and a speed of 400 under ISO ASA. By the way, if it says 6x6 here, that means it's a dedicated medium format profile. If it says just VC for vivid colors or nothing at all behind the film speed rating, that means it's a generic profile for all available film formats. Next, we'll move on to the exposure slider to adjust the exposure level. The slider for the exposure level will allow us to adjust effective brightness, just like the midtone slider in the picture settings widget, right? Yes and no. Yes, because moving the exposure level slider to the left and right will make our image in the preview appear darker or brighter. And technically no, because again, a color negative film is a different beast than a regular print or slide, and even a black and white negative. A color negative film wants each of its color layers to be treated separately, thanks to the compressed gradation in the before-mentioned orange mask. The exposure slider is giving us a simple control over this rather complex adjustment and lets us compensate for possible under- or overexposure while our picture was taken, of ±3 f-stops. Normally, a correction of exposure isn't necessary, yet this setting gives us great control as a creative because we're able to preview the result in the preview area. I will choose an exposure level setting of -0.8 on this image because I get a little better detail in the sky and also the colors are more vivid, even though the sky was overcast when I took this photo. Tolerance slider. Moving on to the tolerance slider. This slider can be used to adjust the tolerance of the mask recognition baked into our NegaFix profile. In general, there are two situations in which to use the slider. Either our image still lacks neutrality, or we want to emphasize the visual appearance of our particular film even further. Kodak Portra 400 is a great color negative film because it has a natural warmness in its images. This photo was taken on an overcast day, which can cause colors in an image to become somewhat pale, similar to what we see in the preview area if I move the tolerance slider all the way to 0. By slowly moving the slider to the right, we can see the look and feel of the Kodak Portra emulsion returning to our image. The colors are becoming much more vivid while not oversaturated, and even the gray sky is getting that extra warmth, while at the same time, it will not get an exaggerated yellow tint. I will choose a setting of 56 in the tolerance slider. I'm pretty happy with the results so far because the settings packed a nice punch in color and contrast into the image, something I'm particularly fond of for this photo. So we're finished with our NegaFix settings, and at this point, I'd like to mention, normally a correction of exposure and tolerance isn't necessary after choosing the right NegaFix profile. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I also wanted to introduce you to some of the creative control over your image by making some subtle adjustments in SilverFast with just 2 sliders. And you can really nail the true color and contrast characteristics of film in your scans. Apply Auto Adjust. Now that we've finished the process of color negative to positive conversion, we will apply a SilverFast Image Automatic as usual to get optimum highlight and shadow values. First, we will return the NegaFix widget to the vertical tool dock by double-clicking into the header of the widget. Then, let's go to the horizontal toolbar to the Auto CCR icon. It has a little triangle icon, which means by long-clicking the icon, the other 14 available image automatics will pop up to be selected. In our example, we will apply just the contrast automatic because we don't want to apply an automatic with automatic color correction anymore at this point. The pre-scan area will automatically preview the result in the scan frame, while any part of our original outside the scan frame remains unchanged. You can now continue for further optimization with some of the other SilverFast tools like ISRD for dust and scratch removal, on-sharp masking, or selective color correction. Please watch all episodes of this tutorial series with SilverFast 9 SE and the Epson Perfection V600 to learn about the powerful possibilities with these special SilverFast tools. Time to hit the scan button. Now, once we've finished editing, we will perform the final scan of our original negative. In the top toolbar, we'll click the Scan button, and the currently active scan frame will immediately be scanned, processed, and saved with the name, destination, output format, and resolution selected in the Scan Dimensions widget. The Scanner Status widget on the bottom of the tool dock will display the status of the current scan, and after reaching 100%, a blue file icon will appear on the right. Clicking the icon will open the final scan of our current scan frame in the default image viewer of your operating system. Understanding bit depth settings in SilverFast 9. SilverFast's internal image quality engine starts with maximum dynamic range. You will always achieve an optimal basis for your image optimization, no matter whether you're a professional or beginner. Let's take a closer look at the Bitdepth-settings menu in SilverFast. The Bitdepth icon represents 3 scan modes: color, grayscale, and line art. The Bitdepth-settings menu consists of 3 sections. The top section is for basic output purposes: internet, email, social media, photo books, cards, stationery, etc. The middle section is for subsequent editing in third-party photo editors, like Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, Pixelmator, etc. The third section is for scanning non-destructively into the raw data concept of the SilverFast Archive Suite. All 3 sections are available in SilverFast AI Studio, SilverFast HDR Studio, and SilverFast HDR. The top and third sections are available in SilverFast SE and SilverFast SE+.